6 minutes into their first ever World Cup match, Curacao was already losing against Germany, four-time champions, a team that has beaten World Cup opponents by 6 goals, by 7 goals, by 8 goals in tournaments past. Everyone in that stadium in Houston knew exactly how this was supposed to go. 15 minutes later, it didn't go that way. Not for the whole match, we'll get to that. But for one moment in the 21st minute, the smallest nation to ever qualify for a World Cup did something that has nothing to do with the final score and everything to do with why people still believe in this tournament. Stick around because what happened after that goal in the stadium, on the island, and in the football world's reaction to it is the actual story here. And it's tangled up with a fight that's been going on inside FIFA for years, one that just spilled out into public view this week. If you want every angle of this World Cup as it happens, subscribe and turn on notifications because there's a lot more coming. Let's set the stage properly. Curacao, population roughly 156,000 people. A Caribbean island that until 2010 wasn't even fully independent. It was part of the Netherlands Antilles. It has never been to a World Cup. Not once in the history of the tournament until this year. Their qualifying campaign was built on resilience as much as talent. A 2-0 win over Jamaica, a 7-0 demolition of Bermuda, a string of results that the country's own Football Federation president described as feeling almost miraculous. When they secured their spot with a draw against Jamaica in Kingston, fans back home flooded the streets. This wasn't a football story anymore at that point. It was a national one. Then came the draw. Group E Germany, Ivory Coast, Ecuador. Curaçao's coach, Dick Advocaat, a man who's managed the Netherlands, South Korea, Belgium, and Russia in a long career, knew exactly what his first match meant. Not a chance to win, a chance to be seen. Germany took the lead in the 6th minute, just like everyone expected. And then, in the 21st minute, Curaçao's number 8, Livano Comenencia, a player who came up through Juventus's academy before this, picked the ball up from outside the box and hit a left-footed shot through traffic into the center of the goal. 1-1, Curaçao's first ever World Cup goal, against the four-time champions, on the biggest stage the sport has. For a few minutes, in a stadium in Texas, the smallest nation to ever qualify for a World Cup was even with Germany. Not morally even, not symbolically even on the scoreboard, even in real time, with the whole world watching. It didn't last. Germany answered before halftime, then again after the break, then again. The final score was 7-1. Kai Havertz scored twice. Jamal Musiala scored. By the end, it looked exactly like the mismatch everyone predicted before kickoff. But here's where this stops being just a result and starts being a story about what this World Cup actually is. Because that one goal, the one that made it 1-1 for 20 minutes of real time, is already being talked about as the moment of the tournament so far. Not the biggest blowout, not the best team. One goal from the smallest country that's ever been here, against the team most likely to lift the trophy, and it landed in the middle of an argument that's been brewing inside FIFA for almost a decade. Back when FIFA first approved expanding the World Cup from 32 teams to 48, the criticism was immediate and it never really went away. More teams, critics said, means more mismatches, more 7-1s. Less of the tension that makes the group stage the best part of any World Cup. That criticism resurfaced hard this week. UEFA's own president was quoted at a conference making exactly that argument, suggesting the expansion had diluted the competition, and 13 World Cup nations, several of them playing in their first ever tournament, fired back with a public statement. Their words were direct. There is no such thing as an unimportant World Cup match for nations like theirs. Football, they said, does not belong to a select group of countries. Its strength comes from being for everyone. Curaçao wasn't named in that statement specifically, but Curaçao is the proof of exactly what those 13 nations were arguing. Under the old 32-team format, Curaçao very likely never gets here. CONCACAF, the region covering North and Central America and the Caribbean, was handed 6 automatic World Cup slots under the expanded format, including the 3 host nations. That expansion is the only reason this tiny island nation, ranked 82nd in the world going into the tournament, ever sets foot on a World Cup pitch at all. So you have two true things sitting next to each other. The expansion produced a 7-1 scoreline that fits exactly the criticism leveled against it. A heavyweight steamrolling and overmatched debutante, precisely the kind of mismatch UEFA's president warned about. And the same expansion produced the goal that's being replayed everywhere right now. The moment a country with a population smaller than most college towns scored on the same goalkeeper, Manuel Neuer, who's been the position's defining player for over a decade. Germany's manager, Julian Nagelsmann, said after the match that his team needed a convincing win for confidence heading into the tournament. Germany failed to escape the group stage at the last 2 World Cups in Russia and Qatar. So a dominant scoreline against anyone was always going to be framed as redemption. He wasn't wrong to want it, and on paper, 7-1 delivers exactly that. But listen to what that same sentence means from the other side of the result. The team that needed a confidence-building win got one by beating a nation, making its World Cup debut by 6 goals. That's the gap. That's the entire argument in one sentence. A 4-time champion needed reassurance against a team whose entire population could fit inside a mid-sized American football stadium twice over, with room to spare. So, which version of this story is the true one? Is it the 7-1 scoreline? Proof that FIFA's expansion created exactly the lopsided, predictable mismatches its critics warned about? Or is it the 21st minute? The moment a country that didn't exist as an independent nation until 2010, that had never played a World Cup match in its history, leveled the score against the team most likely to win the whole tournament. Both of those things happened in the same 90 minutes. Both of them are true at the same time. And FIFA, UEFA, and 13 angry national federations are all currently arguing about which one matters more. Here's what I think is worth sitting with, regardless of where you land on the expansion debate. Curaçao's coach said before the tournament that his team wasn't going there to make up the numbers, that there are always surprises at a World Cup, and there was no reason this couldn't be theirs. For 20 minutes against Germany, he was right. The scoreline says blowout. The moment says something else entirely. So tell me what you think. Does a result like 7-1 prove the critics right about World Cup expansion? Too many mismatches, not enough real competition? Or does one goal from the smallest nation to ever play in this tournament against a 4-time champion justify the entire decision to let more countries in? Drop your answer below. I read every comment. If this gave you the fuller picture, a like helps more than you'd think, and subscribe if you want every angle of this tournament covered honestly, all the way through to the final on July 19th. Because if Day 4 already looked like this, you do not want to miss what's coming next.